have you guys been? I haven't talked to you very much lately. I've been making some videos, but I haven't really been hearing a lot from you. We're having a wonderful autumn. It's much, much milder than it's been. I mean, or than it should be. I think we're like 12 degrees above normal right now. We're driving through Ottawa. Yesterday I was watching a video in Switzerland. It's called Switzerland is Life, is the channel. And I went on a press trip there years ago. And we went to Wengen and up to Jungfraujoch. And other places, and the Aletsch Glacier. And it was interesting watching it yesterday because Switzerland's a different kind of place. There's not a whole lot of cars. There's trains in the mountains between all the villages. And there's pathways, there's walking paths. So you take the train and you walk. And everybody's in great shape, I guess. I wonder what happens when their backs are bad. I mean, surely they must get bad backs too. They eat a lot of cheese. Every village has its own cheesemaker. Every household knows how to make cheese. And all the cows have been pastured differently. And all the cheeses are different. So with all that cheese, you would think that they would have a lot of arthritic pain. I don't know. I was thinking about, did I ever make YouTube videos from Switzerland? Did I make videos from all these places? But I don't think so. I think that I started YouTube in 2017. And was it 2017? No, 2007. I think. I've been doing it for 17 years. Yeah, 2007. Oh, it's 18 years now. We just passed my anniversary. Or it's today. Yes, today is my 18-year anniversary for making YouTube videos. But I guess the trip to Switzerland was before that. Hello. Guess you get to see my wonderful sweet husband here beside me, fast asleep. And Patty's not here today, so you're it. I get to talk to you. So how has life been? I I got the idea of making a grass hut, which was such a great idea. And so now I have this little place, it's like going to the cottage. I go down there and I live there while I'm there. And so I found a gourd yesterday, and I put a hole in it. It's a long, skinny one with the big ball at the bottom. I don't know what that kind is called. I know there are names for them. Anyway, but I punched a hole in it, and I stuck a stick in, and I scraped it out, and I stuck it in the top and scraped it out and dumped it over, and all these gourd seeds fell out. Wrong season for gourd seeds. Anyway, and then I filled it. You can just stick it straight down into the stream. It's great because the stream is much, it's about a foot below the bank, or the surface above it. Yeah, the bank is about a foot. So I didn't want to have to lean over and put something in the water, have to lay on the ground to do it. So this way I can just bend down, stick my stick, the end of the gourd, into the water, and it fills. It goes in the hole on the side, very small hole, fills it right up, and I shook it out, and I poured it out, and I cleaned it out a few times, and then as the water would splash out, I could rub it on the outside of the gourd and do the whole thing and get it all nice and fresh. So now I have a dipping gourd. I have my utensils. So I'd like to make I have a calabash somewhere. It's half full of water. Ooh, those guys are always going fast. I guess it's in my other grass hut. And I'd also like to. I stood up all the sticks that were in piles. There were 2 piles there. I stood them all up in the alders so that if I want to make a campfire, they'll be dry. You have to have them vertical, or if they're horizontal, they'll rot because they get wet. But if they're vertical, then they don't. Then they dry off nicely and are ready. So maybe I should gather some rocks together, and I should create a campfire pit. Can't be right beside my teepee because it'll burn up if a spark goes that way. It's not a teepee, my hut. It's a dome shape now. It's kind of pointed on the outside. It's such a nice little place. And it's so convenient to get to it. That's one of the best things. It makes me happy to be there. I got sucked into eating cookies. So I've been just eating and eating and eating. And something about doing that makes me not so in tune with the Holy Spirit. Makes me because I feel guilty, or because and of course it affects my body, and just that attachment to continually feeding my face. going to the temple again. We weren't able to go to Palmyra this week or last week. I guess we're just going to Montreal on Thursdays now. On the way home, we're going to go visit Willem's daughter. I actually arranged it ahead of time. I think my mind is getting more organized. I think I like order a lot. Oh, not that we really have order a lot, but bunch of gourds I have painted. It would be nice if I had a place where I could display them all. You know, like hang them all up in my grass hut or something. Hard to make these decisions, you know. I would hang them from trees, but they are not, the paint will come off. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I should hang them from trees anyway. Yeah, that's a good idea. I have all these unfinished gourds. I could hang them from, like, my arbor. That's a good idea. Oh, I could hang them up in the teepee. The one in the yard. That would be nice. Actually, I should probably use some of them for things like dishes at my grass hut. I'd like to be able to cook lentils down there. I was able to go across the water, walk across the logs to get to the other side. And I was able to cut the grass over there. Really long grass, must be 6 feet long. And I brought it over by the camp, by the teepee. I need to do some more on the grass on there. I need to put it on thicker. There's a lot of places where you can see light coming in. I would also like to have a window in there. Not a big window. Maybe a big window would be fine. To put it on the outside and then put it on the grass and then put the grass that's above it out on top of it and then maybe trim the grass. I don't want to have a leaking area. Maybe if it's a more vertical place, that would be best. There's a thought. to listen to more, like going through Switzerland. And I like listening to weather-related things. And also maybe primitive bushcraft. Bushcraft is what I like. That's my hobby. I could take some boards. I have some boards that I'm going to use for bases of baskets. And I should go ahead and put some holes in them, and then cut enough willow to work one at a time, and maybe work on a basket when I'm in the grass hut, or sitting in the bench. I could do that. I don't want to cut all the willow at once. I don't like having it get dry. But when it gets dry and then you soak it, it makes a better basket because it doesn't get loose and fall apart. The clock's changed. So when we drive through Ottawa now, instead of it being instead of the sun rising beyond Ottawa when we're halfway to home, now it rises as we're getting into Ottawa. But if there's if the sun is in our face, it's not up yet. It's just changing the colors in the sky a bit. Once it rises and we're driving east, then it will be in my face. Hunting season is on right now. 2 weeks of hunting season. So you hear the dogs. Sometimes the dogs chase the deer and get far away. You find dogs. They usually have tags on. But it's likely to have dogs running out across the road. Listen to the news. Is that okay?
U.S. Ottawa's Rachel Homan beat Edmonton's Selena Sturmey 4-3 for her second straight win. Chelsea carried Winnipeg also 2-0. And Saskatchewan's Jason Jason Ackerman still undefeated at the Canadian Mixed Curling Championship. 6-0 now, and Manitoba's leading the other pool as they get closing in on the playoffs there.
There you go. Okay, thanks very much, Sean. Doug Hensted.
Well, you're a little bit busy on the eastbound 417 briefly, like going through the 416 interchange there. Not for very long, just sort of Holly Acres to Bayshore. Then a second down from Carlington, nearly Parkdale, over in Gatineau, westbound 50, got busy first, heading from La Vérendrye right down to Saint Louis. I'm back with more in 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks very much. David Gironia from the newsroom.
Asylum seekers currently make up more than half the population in the City of Ottawa's shelter system. The city wants to offer proper resettlement services, but says that will be challenging without the $106 million in funding that it's seeking from the federal government. And 2 men killed by an air driver last summer were remembered in an Ottawa courtroom yesterday. We'll take a closer look at that story in my full local newscast in half an hour. Stick around. World Report is coming up next.
Today on The Current.
He's going to make America healthy again.
As Donald Trump heads back to the Oval Office, he is bringing many powerful men with him, from Elon Musk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and beyond. The historian Jill Lepore on America's new power structure and how they'll change that country, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. U.S. President Joe Biden will address his nation later this morning. This will be his first public comments since Donald Trump and the Republicans won the race to replace him. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her concession speech yesterday. She promised a peaceful transition of power to the Trump administration, something he did not do for Biden 4 years ago. Karen Pauls is in Washington, and Karen, Donald Trump does not become president until January, but what are his next steps in the coming days?
He has a lot of transition meetings. Donald Trump's team is focused on getting out of the gates quickly. Trump needs to start choosing a cabinet and other high-ranking officials. He's already said he wants to make tech billionaire Elon Musk Secretary of Cost Cutting, possibly in charge of a Department of Government Efficiency with the goal of shaving trillions of dollars from the federal budget. He said he'll give vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. some role in health. And his advisors have been vetting others for key posts like defense, trade, immigration, and economic policy. With Republican control of the Senate and defending a House majority, political appointments like that will be much easier to get through.
Karen, during the campaign, Trump promised to do a lot during his first 100 days. How will that look?
Trump and his allies have already said quite a bit about that. He has promised on day one to close the U.S. border with Mexico and launch the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Here's a collage of some of what Trump said about that and other priorities.
We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country. We have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use it. You know, we had no wars. 4 years, we had no wars.
Republican leaders in both chambers want to move quickly on a massive budget reconciliation package that would cut taxes by trillions of dollars. Others want Trump to reclassify a large chunk of federal civil service workers so they can be replaced with others more invested in carrying out his policies. Marcia?
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Karen Pauls in Washington. When Donald Trump assumes office as the next U.S. president, he will probably have to tackle Canada's closed dairy markets. A private member's bill from a Bloc MP will try to protect the dairy industry, but the Senate has been taking a closer look, and it says this might not be a smart move. Janice McGregor joins us from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, why would Americans have a problem with this bill?
Marcia, Senator Peter Harper, who's fought this bill from the beginning, compared it to a grenade. He warned senators that passing it would be like pulling the pin on Canada's trade relationship. If it became law, negotiators could no longer run a play that's been key to landing Canada's biggest trade deals over the last decade, and that's serving up a small slice of Canada's dairy market to foreign competition. Taking a hard line against any future concessions, well, that plays well in parts of rural Canada where politicians court the rights of dairy, egg, and poultry farmers. But for international trading partners, taking this off the table is unfairly protectionist. More access for U.S. dairy farmers was something that Donald Trump bragged about when NAFTA was renegotiated. The Americans are still disputing whether Canada's interpreting the text of that deal unfairly and still blocking imports that it agreed to take. Carlo Dade, the trade director for the Canada West Foundation, says there's no way this ends with anything other than serious damage.
We pulled the fast one on the altar to our deal, and now we've gone back to putting legislation to keep our ill-gotten gains. That's a polite reading from the Americans. If you want to get out a bunch of four-letter words, you've come closer to how they feel about this.
So what did senators do late yesterday?
The committee that studied this bill has heard from 52 witnesses, way more than MPs did when the House passed it. A lot of the testimony concluded it's terrible public policy. Here's Senator Harder moving an amendment yesterday to neuter the bill.
Witnesses that we've had have revealed the unique flaws of the bill. I believe that we need to de-risk this bill.
His amendment passed 10 votes to 3, put it back on track to being sent to the House for MPs to reconsider. But the Commons right now is effectively filibuster. So, as anxiety sets in about future trade wars with Donald Trump, this one might be slow-walked to its death.
All right, thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. The European Union space program says it is almost certain 2024 will be the hottest year on record. It will also be the first year a key climate threshold is surpassed. Carlo Buontempo is director of the Copernicus Climate Change Service.
So last year we kept temperature below 1.5 just by a small margin. We were 1.48, and we have been above that threshold throughout the year.
Fewer than 10 years ago, countries pledged to prevent global warming from surpassing 1.5 degrees Celsius. Technically, that target has not been reached yet. It refers to the average global temperature over decades. But Copernicus expects it will happen around the year 2030. Canada is calling on China and Saudi Arabia to start paying for their carbon emissions. Both countries are some of the world's largest greenhouse gas polluters. But so far, they've been exempt from paying into an international climate fund. As David Thurton tells us, Canada will be calling for that to change at the UN's COP29 summit. It begins next week.
China will become, in the coming years, one of the biggest historic polluters.
Environmentalist Stephen Guilbeault underscoring China's massive carbon footprint and why Beijing should pay into a new international climate fund, money that could help island states under threat from rising waters better prepare for severe weather. Canada and other wealthy nations already contribute, but China, the world's largest greenhouse gas polluter, doesn't have to. Because 30 years ago, when the first UN climate agreement was signed, its economy was much smaller, it's now much bigger, and now Guilbeault says Beijing and others need to pay up.
And countries like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states have a lot of money, and they contribute a lot to climate change.
This is expected to be a major issue next week when Azerbaijan hosts the UN Climate Summit in Baku, where countries are supposed to agree on a new and more generous climate finance goal.
This is really key to rebuild trust between North and South, this trust that has been slowly but surely eroded.
Caroline Briette is with Climate Action Network Canada.
And it's also why countries from the Global South are expecting Canada and the G7 to come to Baku ready to show us the money.
Whether that will happen is still unclear. It took years for wealthy nations to achieve the previous climate finance target. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Police chiefs across the Greater Toronto Area say it's been a brutal year for gun violence. Several cities are noting 2024 as a record-breaking year for cases involving firearms. As Nicole Williams tells us, the trend reflects a steady rise in shootings in Canada over the last decade.
I just dropped to my knees and screamed.
Melanie Ward remembers with haunting clarity the moment she learned her son was dead. Alexander Kirchemar was on his way to an appointment in Hamilton, Ontario back in March, but never made it. Shot and killed in broad daylight in what police believe to be a targeted shooting.
I lost my son. I lost a teenager. I lost 19 years of his life, and now I lose his future.
Her family is just one of many grappling with the growing gun violence in the Greater Toronto Area this year. Hamilton setting a new record for the number of times shots have been fired. 58 so far, compared to 35 for all of last year. Staff Sergeant Steve Berzuk leads Hamilton Police's new shooting response team.
These are scary numbers. These shootings are occurring specifically all hours of the day.
In Toronto, there have been nearly 400 shootings since January, up from 277 for all of last year. In York, more than 60 so far this year, nearly double from 2023. Both cities reaching a 4-year high, and it's a trend happening right across Canada. Sociology professor Juyong Lee says it's because more illegal firearms are entering this country than ever before.
We have states south of the border that have very porous gun laws that make it easier for the wrong people to get their hands on guns.
He says until there's broader societal changes and tighter security at the borders, families like Ward's will keep paying the price. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
And Nicole has more on this story on our main page at cbcnews.ca. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young. Good morning, I'm Hallie Cotton. You're listening to Ottawa Morning. It's Thursday, November 7th. In the aftermath of Donald Trump's re-election, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland wants to reassure Canadians
Canada will be absolutely fine. We have a strong relationship with President Trump.
But what lessons are there for politicians in Canada? A conservative and a liberal strategist will join me on what's next for politics here. A grand piano with a unique history.
It was hard to let it go because a piano like that, especially at top to Steinway, you don't get it better than that.
We'll learn more about the instrument and the distinguished musician who played it for decades. Plus,
good luck and let's play CKL Win Radio Bingo. 074, Gemini was civilian. 074.
We'll hear about a bingo night in Akwesasne with more than jackpots on the line. 11 minutes past 7 o'clock, partly cloudy and 4 degrees, winds from northwest 17 kilometers per hour. Cloudy with a slight chance of showers early this morning, then a mix of sun and cloud, the high 11 today. David Girona from the CBC Ottawa Newsroom.
2 men killed by an impaired driver last summer were remembered in an Ottawa courtroom yesterday. The woman who caused that fatal crash pleaded guilty in May, and now she'll find out how much time she'll be spending behind bars. Nathan Funk will have an update for us at the bottom of the clock. And a road trip across South America took a violent turn for a couple from Gatineau when they were viciously attacked by armed assailants in Panama last week. Faith Greco will tell us what happened in my full newscast at 7:30.
Thanks very much, David. Doug Kempstead.
Well, busy over in Gatineau, as I've been saying, from Lavera down to about San Luis, fine going across the river bridge. The ramp taking to the McDonald-Cartier Bridge is busy. So is most of the bridge headed into Lower Town. And then King Edward after that, as far as St. Patrick's. And Fournier is busy too, after you've crossed Lady Appleton Bridge, but it's not backed up all the way to to Gervais at the moment. Otherwise, over in Gatineau, things look decent. No problems coming in from Aylmer at all. Or Champlain Bridge. It's only mildly busy. Eastbound 417 busy from Holly Acres to Bayshore, and then again from Carling to just past Island Park Drive. So much quieter this morning. The westbound 174, no problems coming in from or through Orleans, but it is busy on Cumberland. I'm back with more Hallie in about 15 minutes.
Okay, thanks very much, Doug. 13 minutes past 7 o'clock. A key story emerging from Trump's victory in the United States is his success in expanding his base. He's drawn in more Latino, African American, and Gen Z voters, yet a common thread remains strong support from men. Early exit polls show 55% of men voting for Trump. CBC's Rebecca Zandbergen spoke to a few in upstate New York yesterday.
My name is Brett Boyd. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and I am very happy that Mr. Trump won. I believe the Democrats are trying to ruin this country. They're systematically trying to ruin this country. If they're not, it certainly seems like they are. And by leaving the border open, by killing the economy, they talk about how they won't even have the flag when they're doing something in the background. That bothers me because I'm a serious patriot. I mean, I didn't serve this country I served because I love it. And I believe there's a lot of people who feel the exact same way as me.
My name is John Gardner. I'm a conservative in New York State, and I voted for Trump because the last 4 years have been totally terrible.
Tell me why you think Trump is the answer to that.
Look at the 4 years when he was president. Interest rates were down. We didn't have a problem on the border. We didn't have any wars. Inflation. I can just keep going on and on. That's why you Canadians come over here to buy stuff, because things are so much generally cheaper.
I know that that flag up there is always constantly under attack, and people are burning it in our country and nothing's being done about it. That used to be a crime, and now it's not. And while other flags, which I won't say are being celebrated, but our American flag is being stomped up over. So,
Hey, well, have a great day.
thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you.
Some Trump supporters from Ogdensburg, New York, sharing why they voted Republican. So what can Canadian politicians learn from Donald Trump's big comeback? For some bipartisan analysis, we've reached conservative strategist Jeff Rutledge and Ashley Trendy, who is a Living strategist, and they both work for the firm Macmillan Vantage. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Of hearing the vitriol that this one's bad and that one's bad. I'm tired of hearing it all. I'm just going to pray for Trump. I'm just going to pray that he does a good job and that he is a good president, and a lot of people wanted him, so you know, whatever. It is what it is. I like Elon Musk. I like the idea that he is going to be in charge of cost cutting, the Department of Cost Cutting or something like that. I think this is going to be interesting. It'll be quite a lot of changes, I think. And if it saves trillions of dollars in government waste, that's good. And you know, the debt is way out of control. It does need to be brought in under. Not sure how that's going to happen. But Elon Musk is very good at making money. He is very good at stripping down the excesses. You know, they did a study on cars, and they found that all these parts of a car, all these parts of a body of a car, that they didn't need to have all these pieces. They could have one huge piece or 3 huge pieces or something, which is why they designed that Cybertruck that way, because you could just take a piece of steel, a flat sheet of steel, and bend it a few times, and you get your, and instead of having so many connections inside and out. Anyway, so that's an interesting change. And I'm tired of listening to everything that's wrong with him. If a huge amount of people voted for him and voted for, he's in the full of the Senate and full in the House, then there's something I'm missing. You know, maybe I've not been getting all of the story. maybe they're not getting the true story. Whatever it is, I'm not sure that he can actually bring prices back down, bring housing prices back down, and bring grocery prices down. I'm not sure how you do that. I don't know if he's smart enough, but maybe. But whatever he does want to do, he's going to just be able to breeze through. He'll be just like driving on the expressway the entire time. And who knows? I'm not into the negative. I just don't feel like listening to the negative, how bad he's going to be or how bad Harris was. I'm done with that. I don't want to hear all of that anymore. I'm just going to spend time in my grass hut and play Minecraft, watch videos about Switzerland, and I'll pray for Trump. I'll just pray for him. The Lord is over all, and many people believe that he's the answer, and perhaps he is, and so I'll just have to wait and see. I'll just have to keep an open mind and squash all the bad thoughts, or pray about the bad thoughts. Pray that there will be safety, that people that, that shouldn't be deported aren't, and the people that are deported have humane conditions on the way. I don't know. It's pretty big. It's a big change. But I do like the idea of gutting the government. There's a lot of government stuff in there that doesn't need to be there. So many departments that do almost the same thing but don't know what each other are doing. Anyway, I've got to get off that topic. So the sun has been rising. I guess it must be up now because the clouds are, the whitish yellow instead of orange. I'm going to talk about my church now. My church is the Church of Jesus Christ